5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Yes, welcome back, everybody. I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is Alex Armstrong Tonight. Yeah, heated stuff. Clashes between protesters and the police across the country today, including Canary Wharf and Epping. That's as Labour insists the rights of asylum seekers trumps locals. And a shock new revelation about Queen Camilla. How, as a teenager, the Queen fought off a sexual assault on a train. We'll bring you that story. There's loads on that. And 3 votes Rayner. Fresh questions raised in the Telegraph as postal ballots put tax claims in doubt.
Not going to increase the taxes that working people pay, their income tax, their national insurance and their VAT.
Yes, it's an insurmountable challenge for Rachel Reeves. New polling reveals voters don't want to raise taxes or want her to keep her job. And some other breaking news recently, America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani, involved in a major car crash in the United States. We'll have the latest on that shortly. And joining me this evening, former Labour Minister Bill Rammell, political commentator Chloe Dobbs, and GB News contributor and very funny comedian Paul Cox. Plus, what's happening here? Hello, everybody. Well, let's take a look at tomorrow's front pages. Well, the Metro are leading on a historic rail revolution. That's up there in Scotland. We might touch that very briefly tonight. The Independent are going with a pretty much blank front page there, sort of talking about reporters being killed in the Gaza-Israeli war. The Guardian are leading with this: drug better than aspirin at preventing heart attacks. That's really interesting. I haven't seen that one yet, so we'll keep our eyes out for it. The Mirror, I'll defeat Farage Scare tactics. Sorry, I was like, what is a scare tactic? But there we go. I'll defeat Farage's scare tactics. I really want to see what he's got up his sleeve there. Keir Starmer, apparently. The Sun, of course, Camilla whacked Groper in the ghoulies. What a headline for you. I believe she called them nuts, actually, which is quite interesting. Telegraph, a bit more of a sensible headline there. A Queen fought off sex offender. And the Express, police told end shop theft sprees now. The Mail, Labour civil war fueling Rayner's sleaze crisis. The Times, leaving the ECHR not a threat to Ulster peace. Well, there we go. We're going to be digging into all of these for you. Let's get the thoughts of my brilliant panel. Former Labour Minister Bill Remmell, political commentator Chloe Dobbs, and, of course, comedian and GB News contributor Paul Cox. All right, where should we start, gents? I think maybe we should start with this Daily Mail front page here, because we've talked a lot about Queen Camilla. We will get back to that story in just a second, but let's do something a little bit fresh. The Daily Mail here, Paul, are leading on Labour's civil war, fueling Rayner's sleaze crisis. They're saying bitter infighting for party leadership behind leaks. And, of course, this is, of course, coming from the Tories. So how credible is this?
That great...
Not.
The great Labour insider backbencher for the Conservative Party.
Is it can be bad enough?
Lord Smythe, snotty face. We obviously don't know. I can imagine it. I mean, I can imagine that with all political parties there's a lot of infighting. I can imagine Rayner is quite a divisive character as well. My understanding from people who generally are on the inside of the Labour Party, and I only know one or two people, is that she's quite well liked, actually. Yeah. She's genuinely quite well liked. She holds a lot of power. Her sector, the Labour Party, and I always see the Labour Party as kind of sex. Not that it's not true for other parties as well, but particularly within the church that is the Labour Party, she's held in very high regard, and she'll fancy herself as a result. I'm sure she's on manoeuvres. I'm sure she'd love to be PM. I'm not sure if this latest sleaze crisis is going to help her. Genuinely, I feel this particular one, taking your name off the deeds of the house you're in, of which your constituency is, seems like a really silly move to me. Because if you are not in your constituency and not on the electoral roll within your constituency, you can't vote within your constituency. That kind of leaves you in a no man's land, doesn't it? No ladies' man.
Lots of MPs don't vote.
Well, Bill, I want to ask about this because I'll just get in some more of the detail here. So it's the Shadow Cabinet Minister for the Tories, Alex Burghardt, and now he's basically saying this is the sort of infighting we're going to see a lot more of in public as Labour politicians fear the collapse of Keir Starmer's regime and start briefing against each other. Of course, no one knows this better than the Tories. This is literally their whole regicidal thought process, isn't it?
Absolutely, and look, there's a feeding frenzy going on at the moment. There was a bonkers story in the Sunday Telegraph this morning that the reason Angela Rayner had bought a flat in Hove was she was going to go on the chicken run for a safer seat, because Hove is one of the strongest Labour seats in the country. That's the seat of Peter Kyle, the Secretary of State for Science, who's one of the most embedded people in the country. It's an absolutely bonkers story. And you know, at the heart of this, there is a prejudice on the right, particularly in right-wing newspapers, against working-class Labour politicians who are successful. You know, last year, before the general election, there was all that stuff about Angela Rayner's property. The police investigated, and she was found to have done nothing wrong whatsoever. And I think that will be the case this time. However, I think there is such a furor, and the Tories are going to keep on with it, and the press are going to keep on with it. I think she probably needs to give a great deal of detail to demonstrate what I believe to be the case, that she's done absolutely nothing wrong as played by the rules.
And I also don't think she's done anything wrong by it, just to be clear. But what I will say, Bill, is that I think it's very hypocritical. She's made a lot of comments about tax dodging. She's made a lot of comments about the wealthy tax. When we found out today she uses a top wealth firm to protect her home, which is all completely legal things, by the way. She's done nothing wrong. But I think when you've spent a lot of time as a politician saying, you can't do this, or Tories, you're sleaze-ridden, you do that, or you dodge taxes, Rishi Sunak. She went to town on Rishi Sunak for his money. I think, Bill, it's very hard for the British public, I think, in general, will say, actually, it stinks a little bit of hypocrisy.
It would be hypocritical if she wasn't abiding by the rules that this government has brought in on second home owners, and she is abiding by those rules. She's paying double the council tax on the Hove property.
I hope so, because that's the law, right? That's the she's
hang on. Speaking of council tax, sorry, the thing that is really fishy here, I don't think that this is in the news just because people hate hate working class women. What she has done, to me, looks very dodgy, and this is in the letter written by the Tory party chairman asking for her to be investigated, is that for the purposes of the stamp duty, she has claimed that Hove is her main residence, but for the purposes of council tax, she's claiming that the constituency home is her main residence, because that means that the taxpayer will pay the council tax on her swanky flat in Admiralty House in London.
My understanding, and I
That's
read a legal expert this morning that is perfectly permissible, and a lot of people do it. And at the core of this as well, and Paul, you made the point about why is she given up the property ownership in her constituency. My understanding is it's part of the divorce settlement with her former husband, and that's why this looks messier than I actually think it is.
Well, I want to go on to the Times and stick with the Angela Rayner story. I mean, we've done this. I mean, she was obviously in loads of the front pages yesterday, because the Times have got another interesting angle on this, and I don't know what we want to read into this, Paul, because it says here, a remarkable coincidence. Let Rayner avoid inheritance tax bill. It says here, Angela Rayner's constituency home was valued at the exact threshold for inheritance tax when part of it was placed in a trust using a wealth protection firm. Now, again, perfectly legal. But it raises questions, doesn't it, about the government who are exploring more wealth taxes. We've, of course, had Angela Rayner being called a hypocrite for her comments about tax dodging, which, again, is legal, by the way. You can dodge taxes if you're smart. But it raises this working-class hero, the champagne socialist argument, Paul. That's what it kind of fuels it, doesn't it?
I can't bear the working-class woman argument on the basis that her gender's got nothing to... Sorry, there's no such thing as gender. Her sex has got very little to do with it.
I didn't say it was sexist. I said it was classist, and they pulled exactly the same trick on John Prescott when he was Deputy Prime Minister.
There. I just, as a working class person, I find it... The thing about this is the deep-seated duplicity and hypocrisy, right? It's a bit like in Animal Farm, George Orwell's Animal Farm, right? It's a trope that's used all the time. When the pigs first took over the farm, they were the humans are bad, the animals are good. In a matter of time, much like the Labour Party and this particular cabinet, it's now all animals are equal and some animals are more equal than others. And I genuinely believe this. Unfortunately for Angela Rayner, there is a history of her having a go at people for doing exactly what she's doing every single time at the moment.
I think, that is literally all I'm saying here as well. I think it's not. I don't think she's done anything illegal. I think you're right, Bill. They could investigate her up to her arrivals, but I think she's never been caught red-handed doing anything wrong, and I don't think she has done anything wrong. But I think what people see is someone who is shouted at other people who have got similar circumstances to her, have also done nothing wrong, and she said, well, actually, it's because you're wealthy elites, and actually we need bigger taxes on this because all these wealthy people getting away with dodging tax, Chloe, and that is what people are angry about.
Well, where she really made herself look out of touch, and like how we have had an Animal Farm situation where she has now become this champagne socialist that's out of touch, is when the story first dropped about the 800k pad in Hove, the Labour sources, whoever they are, that she sent out to the press to make comments, they justified the 800k home on the basis that she needs an 800k home by the seaside as a base when she's living in London. I'm sorry, but who needs a swanky flat? But I would love to have as a luxury a swanky flat by the seaside to escape to on the weekends. But to act as though that's a necessity is just beyond belief. Also, those Labour sources that she sent out, when the story first dropped about the flat, claimed, oh, don't worry, guys, her constituency home is still her main home, to make it sound like she still goes to a constituency. Yeah. But then when the stamp duty story dropped, magically the Labour sources changed their point of view and then claimed that her main home is the Hove flat. So I think it's very messy, and I don't buy that she's done nothing wrong.
Well, Bill, because, listen, I think there's another story here on Rayner. There's another one. We will get to it. But I want to ask Bill this, because I think when I see a politician on the front pages quite often, immediately my political brain kicks in and goes, that's because people see this as a person who's a contender for one of the top jobs in Britain. Nigel Farage is always plastered over the front pages. Of course, Keir Starmer in the run-up to the election was. Do you think the press are going after her, and this is an alternative perspective, are going after because they see her now as the successor in waiting?
I genuinely don't think Keir Starmer is going to go, so I don't think that is the case.
Let's just even imagine, let's just say he did. Would she be the next one?
The Tory press have a track record of going after any Labour politician that they think is likely to be successful.
But you think the Times is Tory press? I don't think the Times is Tory press. Really.
Well, OK. I would say the Times over donkey's years has been much more Conservative than it's been Labour. It did, to give it its due, recommend voting Labour very grudgingly at the last general election.
I'm surprised that all papers aren't covering it, though, irrespective of politics, because this is journalism 101, isn't it? A politician comes up for years and years and years, calls the opposition scum, says everything they do is bad, everything they do is immoral, gets into power and does exactly the same thing. Well, exactly the same. Look, there is no difference in the type of behaviour that she's professed to hate over the years than what she's doing now. And this is what I find really difficult, because I want someone like Angela Rayner, who's come from the background that she has, sort of a bit of a working class hero, teenage pregnancy, all the way to the top of British politics. I want her to succeed on the basis that I'm a working class person, that's my background too. But she is proving to be no better than anybody else.
But Paul, she has not made those claims. The claim that she has made is that second homeowners should be taxed more than if you just own one home. And she is absolutely abiding by that taxation framework that has been brought in.
No,
that's not duplicity. That's not double standard.
I just want to read some of her tweets out, because I think this is where, when you look at the tweets she said before, and this is where it gets to the crux of it. She says, when Jeremy Corbyn was there, 2017, correct to raise tax dodging issue to Jeremy Corbyn. The public are furious with those who get away with tax avoidance while they pay. Tory Minister Gaff put our citizen at risk. Tory Minister wanting to give our aid to an overseas army and the rich tax dodging on a grand scale. Revelations on tax dodging from the wealthy. Ordinary people get taxed at the source are furious. These tax dodgers are advocating austerity too. This is what I mean.
That is a legal concept. It is tax dodging and it is illegal.
Well,
nothing Angela Rayner has done has been demonstrated to be illegal.
No, there's nothing illegal about it. This is a moral issue. This is a political moral issue. And do you know, I want to put it on record that if I ever become a politician, I want to take advantage of absolutely everything that's offered. I want 3 homes. I want as many homes as I can get. I want to avoid tax. I am saying here and now that if I ever run, I want to avoid as much tax as possible, that nobody can come after me.
Do you know what, though? I'll just make a brief point about balance in the press. Nigel Farage owns 4 homes worth £4 million. Where is any coverage of that?
Yeah, but I would say the point. But you're right. But the point is that he's not the one there sitting. Actually, you should pay more tax this year. You should pay more homes. He was one who was reversal. So I think that
Angela's saying
he's
that
also
second
not,
homeowners should pay more tax, and she's doing it.
You've given me a nice segue, because I kind of wanted to prove my point. When I was asking Bill earlier on, I was like, do you think some of the press go after different people because of different political views? I was like, well, let's have a look at the Daily Mirror. Starmer's Project Hope. Our defeat Farage, scare tactics, it says here. PM hails policies to help young people and promises bright future, accuses Reform and the Tories of talking down Britain at every turn. And this is what I mean about the press, right? Is that of course, I think Bill has got a point, because there are political leanings on the press, and we all know there are. But the Daily Mirror here is running with a Farage scare tactics story, and that's what they're saying. Keir Starmer's the man to beat Nigel Farage. And when you look at this, you go, well, actually, of course, the left-wing media are going to start attacking Nigel because they see him as the next man for the top job, and maybe the right-wing press look at Rayner and go, see, actually, she's the woman for the next top job, so they're going after her. And I think this is the reality when we get down to the nitty-gritty of it. This is the reality.
But Alex, that's the left-wing press. That's the right-wing press.
OK, well, you could argue that. You could have it. There's the Guardian, there's the National...
There's the Guardian and the Mirror. Yeah, I do, absolutely.
No, I don't know if I agree with that one.
I don't agree
You've got the
with that
BBC, you've got some other competitors there too. But anyway, let's just talk briefly about this story, Paul, if you don't mind. We're talking about Starmer's Project Hope. Now, I think most people watching this show right now will go, what hope? I don't even have hope that there's going to be a country tomorrow in some cases.
I often describe particularly Keir Starmer's politics and the politics of this Labour government as schizophrenic, and this, again, is schizophrenic to me. I don't know who he's talking to. Maybe it's the clock on the wall or the fridge in the kitchen, but whoever's advising him has got this entirely wrong throughout. And the trouble is he parrots things. So he either watches what Farage is doing, and Farage tends to be 20 steps ahead of him, or there's an advisor within his team who writes a speech which he parrots out and then later on says, I didn't believe a word of that. There is no chance that Keir Starmer could ever defeat Nigel Farage. If it ever goes head-to-head, and let's say it was to go head-to-head any time between now and 2029, there is no possibility on God's earth within this country that Keir Starmer could defeat Nigel Farage. It is impossible. He doesn't have the politics in his locker. He is very rigid.
And the reality is he can't out-Farage.
No,
It's not possible. In the Labour Party, he's going to have constraints because of the political makeup of his party. He won't ever be able to put out policies, for example, on deportations as strong as Nigel Farage. And Keir Starmer, he tries to walk the walk. He tries to talk the talk, but he just can't walk the walk. He thinks, oh, if I put out the right tweets and I put out these flashy videos that my social media team makes for me saying that we're deporting people, then everything will be fine. But it's simply not. And they've set up in Number 10, they've set up this special team to try and combat Nigel Farage. Why don't they just put those people towards trying to stop the boats coming in? And that will bring him far more success.
Let's go to Bill. Bill, very briefly, I mean, what do you make of this whole Project Hope idea?
I mean, it is undoubtedly the case that Reform and the Conservatives are pursuing a diet of negativity, that the country is going to the dogs, that everything is breaking down, nothing works. There's actually a positive story to be told for this government. You know, the fact that average wages for the first time in 15 years are ahead of prices, the fact that, rail is being renationalised, the fact that workers' rights are being brought in, that the minimum wage was raised 3 times the rate of inflation. But this government has been crap at communicating its narrative.
I think you're absolutely spot on. Communication is everything, Bill, in politics. But I will also say that to many people watching, they won't feel the benefits of this government, even if that may be very well true, Bill. But people at home are thinking, actually, I feel like this country is in the worst state it's ever been. And maybe that's because of 14 years of Tory rule and they're having to clean it up. Who knows? I don't think that this is going to get much better. I think we need really tough medicine for a country in a deep, deep trouble. And unfortunately, I don't believe Keir Starmer and the Labour Party are going to do it. I really don't. But anyway, loads more front pages for you tomorrow. But let's get your Great British giveaway first. Our biggest prize today's worth over 104 grand. You could win a 4-berth motorhome worth over 74k plus a whopping 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For a chance to win the motorhome and cash, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck, everybody. Well, coming up, we're going to get the latest from across the pond, including the news that former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani has been involved in a very serious car accident. This is Alex Armstrong Tonight's Late Edition. Stay with us.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
27 now. Heaven, Health and Beauty in Shropshire is celebrating the official unveiling of their royal warrant today.
Well, it's been recognised as the supplier of skincare products and treatments to Her Majesty the Queen after she first used the company's products 19 years ago. She's a loyal customer.
She is a loyal customer. Jack Carson has been getting the treatment.
I was just like, I wish my mum was here to see this.
There's a beaming smile on the face of Heaven Health and Beauty founder Deborah Mitchell as she celebrates the unveiling of their royal warrant. Starting her business with £10 in her pocket in 1995, Deborah says she's worked from the ground up and started providing skincare treatments to Her Majesty the Queen 19 years ago. Today she says she's honoured to be a recipient of a royal warrant.
It is a feeling that you cannot explain, but I was very lucky before having the royal warrant when Camilla Parker Bowles was Camilla Parker Bowles, and I didn't tell anybody I did her treatments. It hit in the press, and then this product, which is the bee venom made from bees, makes the skin look younger using a Botox alternative.
The King and Queen have granted royal warrants to almost 400 companies that supply the royal household, with each one lasting up to 5 years. It also means those companies can display the royal arms on their products. Director and daughter of Deborah, Ella Mitchell, makes this business a family affair, and she's made sure the packaging is already getting a fresh look. Ella says she's proud the products are made in Britain.
The achievement itself, you feel proud to be British, and I think that's one of the core values of us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. Let's get across to the other side of the pond with the latest news out of America. I'm now joined by US political commentator Hillary Fordwich. Hillary, thank you so much for joining me. I think we've got to start with that news that broke in the last hour that Rudy Giuliani, the former New York City mayor, has been hospitalised after quite a serious car crash. Can you give us some more information on that, Hillary?
Yes, Alex, pleasure to be back with you, and you're absolutely correct. He was in a rental vehicle. This was up in New Hampshire, and of course it's a holiday weekend here in England, of course referred to as a bank holiday weekend. It's Labor Day weekend, and he was traveling and saw on the side of the road a victim of domestic abuse, and he stopped to help this lady and then got back into his vehicle. Now, the statement actually has come out and has asked people not to spread any conspiracy theories. But after he was back on the road, a vehicle then pursued him at high speed and then crashed into him. He has been he was taken to the hospital, and he has lacerations, contusions, and something to do with his vertebrae as well, and bruises to his left arm, left leg. Now, was this the perpetrator of that crime, of that alleged domestic abuse? I don't know. I'm not going to go on record with something that isn't definitive, but Alex seems rather suspicious. The bottom line, what we definitely know, the definites are, former Mayor Giuliani stopped to do a very good deed to a lady that he did not have to. A lot of people, Alex, might have continued going, but he stopped to help her, and then his car was bumped into.
Interesting, Hillary. We'll be following that with great detail. And of course, he's 81 years old. So to have got out of the car, and I don't know the rest of that story there, whether all this alleged stuff that he got out and helped someone who was being assaulted. But quite a brave man to do that at 81 years old, indeed. But also, if just to help and inform our audience, he also advised President Trump in 2016. When has he sort of left the political sphere, so to speak, now?
Yes, and actually, if I could just say two quick things, Alex. Number one, actually, the audience might remember that Prince Philip actually stopped people in Scotland. He stopped and helped people when they had a flat tire. So there are a lot of those good men of that generation, these older men that do such things. But anyway, actually, I just want to mention, I used to live in New York prior to when Giuliani was mayor, and afterwards I went back there on business, and the tangible difference, Alex, of a city, and he used the phrase, he was the one that coined the phrase, he called it, you stop the petty criminals. He called them the the window breakers. He would stop and they would arrest people literally jumping the turnstiles, going on the underground, the New York Metro, and they would arrest all the petty criminals. He said they were going to work, and he lowered crime, lowered graffiti. It was a completely changed city. Now, to answer your question, yes. He was an advisor to President Trump. He was, during his first administration, he was very close to President Trump, and then lots of things happened with him. I think again, he was pursued by the left wing, let's say, and then he was in court for a number of different incidents, but he was highly respected when he was mayor and when he first used to advise President Trump.
Yeah, and of course, I believe he got gun crime under control in New York as well, which is something that I have in the back of my mind. Perhaps I'm right about that, Hillary, too?
Correct.
Yes. OK. Well, let's move on. And of course, we'll bring you more on that story as it develops. We'll find out more. Hopefully, Rudy Giuliani makes a full recovery and we can hear his side of the story on that, because that'll be fascinating to know. But let's move on, because Donald Trump's been hailing the success of the National Guard, hasn't he, being deployed in D.C. Is he going to be rolling this out nationwide? I had a Democrat commentator on last night, and he was up in arms. He was furious. He said it's a state of martial law in America. Go on, Hillary, give us some balance to that.
Well, let's ask any of the people who have been victims of these crimes if they think it's so ghastly, Alex. Let's ask any of the mothers or fathers or families or friends of those that have died. Actually, Washington, D.C. now, since this has gone into effect and the National Guard was deployed in Washington, D.C., there have been zero homicides. There were 5 shots so far this weekend in Chicago, and most of the actual crime in Chicago is black on black crime. In fact, when there were the whole BLM riots all over America, I used to want to say to people, yes, Black Lives Matter. Why don't we stop the blacks killing other blacks in Chicago, actually, because that's where it's the worst. So let's ask the victims of crime. And here's something that's very interesting, Alex. When the National Guard was deployed in Washington, D.C., there were, in quotes, protests. And as you probably heard, and you have them in the UK, these organized protests. Well, photographs of those protesters, and I actually saw some protesters firsthand, they were probably 90%, I would say, guesstimation, older white people. Well, let me assure you, Alex, that is not the typical demographic of Washington, D.C. When professionals get older, they retire, they go somewhere south, they go somewhere warmer, less taxes. The actual statistic in Washington, D.C. is 53% black or Hispanic. So they were organized protesters shipped in. And what I wanted to say was, why don't we just go up and take all the handbags of all those protesters and say, since you're for crime, what does it matter? Let's take your cell phones from you. But in all seriousness, President Trump is talking about deploying the National Guard now to Chicago and perhaps actually Baltimore. The mayor of Baltimore in the state of Maryland, he actually would like to have the National Guard deployed. But last but not least, Muriel Bowser, she is the mayor of Washington, D.C. She's an ardent Democrat, definite Democrat, and she has thanked President Trump.
She has indeed, hasn't she? What a statement that was. We never saw that one coming. Maybe he can send some National Guard over to London, help us clean up our city, because ours is running out of control. I was doing my whole speech tonight on knife crime, an epidemic across the country. Perhaps he could give us a hand over here too. But let's just, another story here, of course, Hillary, as well, because Trump is giving, he said, he's giving Russia 50 days to cease and desist on the war. So, of course, we haven't heard much about Russia and the peace talks. It seems to have sort of quietened out a little bit, and many people were wondering whether any more is happening. Trump is now turning back the rhetoric.
Yes, well, things have quietened down in the terms of the rhetoric. You're right. They haven't quietened down in terms of the drones. I mean, one's heart goes out to all those families in Ukraine. And one of the things I really admire about President Trump, the president of peace, is he is one of the few leaders we've all ever heard constantly talk about the body count, the boys, the families, the young men, the soldiers. And we know that in the month of July, President Putin sent 20,000 Russians to their death. So he doesn't care about people. If he sent 20,000 men to their death. But now to the actual situation. Let's ask Iran what it's like when you're given an ultimatum. He gave Iran 60 days, and on the 61st day, we all know what happened to Iran. So I think everyone should take President Trump very seriously. This is a very serious 50 days. And I think President Putin doesn't care about lives at all, not even his own people's lives. What he does care about, though, Alex, is what? He cares about the fact that if the Russian economy totally and utterly collapses, he'll have mutiny and he'll have a disastrous company on his hand. He cares about not being a pariah in the world, and he cares about not looking like a complete and utter failure. He's a little man. He's probably got Napoleonic complex, but he doesn't want to be the little twerp who let Russia go down the drain.
Indeed, Hillary. And talking, of course, so much about Trump, you've had a shout-out from the man himself, haven't you, Hillary? Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. Yes, yes, he actually said I was fantastic. So I'm sure there's a lot of people on the left now who probably aren't going to talk to me anymore. But it was rather smashing of him, I must say. That was this morning. I was on somebody called Armstrong Williams' show. Actually, one of the things I did talk about was having been at the invitation of Ambassador Huckabee. I was in Israel, President Herzog and Netanyahu at the invitation from Chris Ruddy, the CEO of Newsmax. We were there as a contingent, 30 or so of us. And I will say that I saw things, heard things that the whole world needs to know about. And I think President Trump really appreciated me saying, and I want to make one mention. We actually saw, Alex, the directions, the instructions from Hamas are rape them, burn them, kill them. And then not only, we all knew about the militants coming over, Hamas coming over, to the innocent concert goers, to the innocent kibbutzes. But Alex, after that, waves of civilians coming over for fun to do the same thing, rape them, burn them, kill them. And Alex, it was just horrific. And I shared that and many other issues actually with Armstrong Williams, but thank you for mentioning it.
Well, hopefully you can tell President Trump that Alex Armstrong's show is also a great place for him to share your interviews and tell him to come on the channel. We'd love to have him. Yeah, absolutely. Let me bring in my panel because we've got some great guests here. We've got Paul Cox, Chloe Dobbs and Bill Rammel. Bill, you've been wanting to ask a question to Hillary. Would you take it away?
Look, Hillary, I know your role is to defend and support Trump, but when it comes to Putin, I'm losing track of where Trump actually is. You know, he fawns over Putin at the Alaska summit. He takes sanctions off the table. You know, he monstered, going further back, Zelensky at that awful press conference in the White House. And now he's talking tough and saying there's a 50-day deadline. I know this, Putin is a ruthless, killing operator, and he's a really smart negotiator. And if I don't know where Trump's coming from, I don't think Putin knows where he's coming from. I'm really not sure he's going to move this war to peace.
Well, I do agree with you that it's very confusing. I don't think that anyone has had much luck dealing with Putin, even though they've tried. What I will say, and by the way, it's not my role to defend Trump. He's not paying me, and no, it's not my role. But what I will say is what I am here to say is I'm here to talk about the things that I think are right and I think the things that work. I will say definitely that President Trump is the only leader who constantly talks about trying to stop the killing. That's very, very important. He is a president of peace. He wants peace. He's made peace in many other parts of the world. Now, has it been a complete and utter success every step he's taken? No. If it was easy, though, it would have been done years ago, although I don't know that Biden could have done it, but he didn't really seem to try. He didn't actually have any kind of conversation with Putin. So all I know is Putin obviously doesn't care about human life, but he definitely cares about himself, his legacy, and he cares about how he'll go down in history and what happens with Russia. And I don't think that he wants to lose face. And I think that this is probably one of the last resorts that President Trump could do, which is a 50-day warning. And again, I'll say it again, let's ask Iran how that worked out for them after 60 days.
Well, unfortunately, Bill, I've got to leave it there. Hillary Forwich, as ever, absolutely fantastic. US political commentator. Hillary, please come back on the show. We'd love to have you. Thank you very much. Well, coming up, we'll bring you more of those front pages and some of the inside stories. This is Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. Stay tuned for some really big stuff coming up.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, the week ahead is going to remain unsettled for all of us. We'll see further spells of rain and showers, and it generally will be quite breezy. So as we enter the weekend, we've still got this area of low pressure close by, still tightly packed isobars, especially across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, indicating some windy conditions here. And all in all, across many western parts of the UK, we'll see further spells of rain and showers, and the rain potentially turning quite heavy later on across parts of Scotland. We do have a warning coming into force during the early hours across southwestern Scotland, so do take some extra care if you have got some early journeys here. Across the south and east, however, generally dry and clear as we end the night, and for all of us it's a fairly mild one as we start Monday morning. So we do start off still with this area of rain across parts of Scotland. Could give a fairly tricky commute in places. There will be some sunshine across western Scotland, but further showers following on here quite quickly. And really for much of Northern Ireland and Northern England, it is going to be a morning of sunshine and showers. Similar story for Wales and the West Country, but over towards the east of England, we will start off relatively dry with some sunshine, but the cloud will bubble up here as the day goes on. And for most of the UK, really, it's going to be a day of sunny spells and scattered showers. Some of these showers will be quite heavy and potentially thundery with a risk of hail in places, but they'll be still moving through fairly quickly on a fairly brisk wind. In the sunnier moments, it won't feel too bad out there for the first day of September. We will see highs reaching around 21 or 22 degrees in a few spots. So then moving on into Tuesday, a bright start across many central and eastern parts of the country, but down towards the far southwest we see another band of rain move in. Some of this rain will be quite heavy, generally given a fairly wet afternoon across parts of England and Wales. Scotland and Northern Ireland continuing to see another day of sunshine and showers, and that unsettled regime continues until the middle of the week with temperatures around average for early September.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
All right, you lot. We've got a show to do here, Paul. We've got a show to do here. Yeah, well, we are live. We are very, very much live.
No one told me it was live.
Well, let's take a look at some of tomorrow's front pages again for you. So the Telegraph is leading with this: the Queen fought off sex offender. Should we just jump straight into it, shall we? Should we jump straight into it? Because I think there's another two stories that I promise you we touch on, we haven't. On the right-hand side of it, the Telegraph, it says refugees face crackdown on bringing families to the UK. So it looks like the government are trying to get the initiative back from Reform, who seem to have sort of dominated the debate around deportations and migrants, of course, for a long time now. And they're saying this: the Home Secretary will use a common statement today, which of course is Monday for those watching right now. Use a common statement today to try and seize back the initiative on migration after record small boat arrivals this year and growing public backlash over asylum hotels. I mean, Paul, yeah, they are desperate to get the initiative back on this one, aren't they?
It's lovely words, but that's all it is, unfortunately. And I see it as a little bit of a distraction because the problem already exists and the problem is here now. We have to sort and fix the problem, which is the illegal migration issue that's already incumbent within the UK. Fix that problem. Don't invite any... Here's going to go a bit hard line now, sorry, Bill. Here would be my solution. We shut the door completely. We shut the door entirely. No more immigration unless it benefits us. It has to be proven to benefit us. No more illegal migration. And what we do is we look at what is here already. Anybody who's illegal has to be deported. Anybody who is a drain on the system has to be deported.
Yeah, let me give you some more context on this, because we've got a little bit more detail here, Chloe. Cooper will restrict when refugees can bring over their families, require them to have sufficient funds before they can do so, and set tougher English language requirements. She will claim the reforms will give greater fairness and balance to the system. So it's not necessarily saying they won't be allowed here, but it's saying that they will when certain conditions have been met. Now, I don't know whether whether we can actually say that refugees' families will have money, because that supposedly defeats the point of being a refugee. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, at the moment, you can have, at the moment we've got around 20,000 family members of refugees coming into the country each year, and that's gone up from only about 4,000 only a few years ago. So there's been a big jump, and as it stands, there is no requirement to have a certain income or a certain English language requirement, which means it's very likely, especially if they are the women, the wives and kids of men coming across, that they're not going to work. The kids are going to need a place in schools. They're going to be living off of the state, and that will infuriate the British public. So this is a step in the right direction, but I think, to what Paul said, this is a very small step in the right direction. They're not getting the basics right, which is that still we have a system that is far too welcoming. I don't want to be horrible to migrants, but I think we can all admit we're living in two-tier Britain, where if you come across illegally on a boat, you get treated better than somebody who lives in this country and sets their alarm every single morning, going to work to try and make enough money to make their bills each month. Yeah,
Bill, I think, look, it's looking a little bit desperate, isn't it, this statement tomorrow? It's the first day back, and they're going full on migrants. I mean, it is a little bit of
it's
like...
not very full on, it's a baby step.
What I mean is they're making that first day about asylum seekers, which was not really what I'm sure a Labour government wants to be talking about. I mean, are they playing catch-up to Nigel Farage?
No, I don't think they are. And there's a whole series of things that this government is doing that will tackle the problem. For example, a 25% increase in the processing of asylum claims, but it will take time. My frustration with the government is that there's not sufficient narrative about what we're doing and how we're doing it. But there is a contrast about whether you're serious and practical or you're on the reform agenda. And I actually welcomed the press conference from Reform this week because, Farage said mass deportations, women and children to be deported 24 hours later. He said, oh, no, we didn't mean that. They're not going to be deported. He said the cost of what he was proposing was £10 billion. An independent think tank that's sympathetic to tackling migrants has costed that £50 billion, which is a colossal sum of money. No sense of where the money is coming from. It's if you're practical about doing this and really determined to make change, or if you're just trying to incite people and fuel concerns.
I don't think the incitement thing's fair any longer, Bill. I understand why you would say it, but I just do not see it as fair anymore. Incitement suggests that that we're tapping into something that's not there. There is huge anger, and above anger, actually, fear, genuine fear for people, their well-being and their safety within this country. And it's because we have this open door policy. It's because it doesn't matter how much crime you see or don't see, how much crime an illegal immigrant commits or doesn't commit. There is enough statistics to prove that it is a huge problem, and people are scared, Bill. And I don't think... I'd go further than what Farage is saying. I literally would shut the door. If you had a leak, you would fix the leak, you would stop the leak, and you would take stock. And that's what I would do with the country.
Well, look, I think we've got a lot more to talk about this, haven't we? Because deportations and the migrant crisis is not going anywhere anytime soon. And I think Paul's got a point. This just doesn't go far enough. I think you were saying this as well, Chloe. It doesn't go far enough to... It's not going to appease anybody, and it's definitely not going to take Nigel Farage to task.
Too little, too late.
Yeah. Well, after the break, I wonder what you make of this, because we like a bit of balance on my shows. There's some doubts over some of Kemi Badenoch's perhaps background and some of the things that she said. Let's find out all out after the break. See you shortly.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. There's still the risk of heavy rain and thunderstorms across central western parts of the Mediterranean over the next few days. Elsewhere, it should be largely dry and sunny. Largely dry across Madeira, the Canary Islands, but you can see the risk of rain across parts of Spain, Portugal, into France, northern Italy, seeing some heavy downpours and thunderstorms. A few showers possible towards Greece as well, but Turkey largely dry with plenty of sunny spells. Temperatures still in the 30s here, and it remains similar over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, where were we? Should we just get cracking with a story here from The Guardian? Because I teased it before the break, and I hope you've been waiting to hear this one. Because we're very fair on this show. So there's some claims here. Stanford intrigue, so doubts over United States offer to Badenoch. Academics have cast doubt over Tory leaders' claims to have been offered a place at a prestigious medical school at Stanford University at 16, with admission staff unable to recall the proposal and the university not providing the course. Bill, come to you first. I mean, we hear a lot about this from our politicians these days, not quite getting their CVs or history right, perhaps.
I can't believe she's been stupid enough to do this and why you would do it. But apart from this, I used the word earlier, she is crap as a leader of the opposition. I mean, she's got no cut through. There's no consistent messaging. You know, a party that's lost so badly as the Tories did needs to go through a bit of recanting of their record. There's been none of that, and she's frankly utterly out of her depth.
Yeah, I mean, Paul. I mean, this is maybe something that might unite the panel tonight. Do you think Kemi went? I want to use that word. Crap. Do you think she's crap?
Why do I have to answer that question? She's not doing very well.
Yeah.
Is how I would respond to that. Genuinely, she's not doing very well. I was a Kemi fan. I'm not a Conservative Party member or anything of that nature. Had nothing in the vote. But when she was up against Drennick, I thought she was the best option. I just think anybody in her position is going to struggle, but she's just not grasped the nettle. I mean, this is cliche after cliche after cliche, but she just simply hasn't done. I don't know if this is true or not.
Yeah.
You just don't lie on your CV.
Yeah, well,
if you're going to become a politician.
Yeah, I mean, if we went after all the others that supposedly did it, then we have to go after her. Because Chloe, of course, she famously said, I think it was our podcast here on GB News, she said, I don't make mistakes. Obviously, a week later, she accused Nigel Farage of manufacturing figures, and she was wrong. So is there some doubt here? Do you think maybe she was trying to beef up her CV a little bit?
I mean, I don't know. We've just seen the very little snippet on this front page, and what it says is that the admissions staff are unable to recall the proposal. I wonder how The Guardian have figured this out. Have they asked the admissions staff who have only worked there for the past 3 years, do you remember admitting Kemi Badenoch? And they've gone, no, because we didn't work here, and then they've slapped it on the front page. Maybe that's the case, or maybe she genuinely did lie. If she did, to be honest, it just makes me roll my eyes and think typical Tories, because you kind of expect it with the Tories, because they're always in scandals. It's when Labour were in the news for all of these scandals and lying on their CVs where we thought, gosh, these are the people who promised politics is going to change and there's going to be integrity now, and that wasn't the case.
Well, I think let's wait and see more. I'll have to read the story tomorrow, actually, because there's probably more to it than meets the eye, but let's see, shall we? I thought it was a bit of balance. We've got to be fair, haven't we? Well, let's have a look at something else that caught my eye this week online. This is a video here from a Chinese takeaway in York that was plastered with, well, it was very racist graffiti. The word Chinese was painted over and "Go home" dubbed all over a wall. The owner, who's British Chinese, has lived in York for more than 10 years and in the UK for more than 20 years. But Crystal Clean Windows, this is a company, they came to the rescue and wiped the graffiti off for free. I think this is a really good news story because stuff like this is totally unacceptable and has been rejected by our people in this country time and time again. And I think it's shameful that people still do stuff like this, particularly to people who've been in this country for a really, really long time. But I just wanted to share with you because I thought it was my good news story of the day. And
let me just add to that,
very briefly for me, Bill.
In my former constituency, some individuals daubed a George cross on a church wall. That's desecration.
People shouldn't do stuff like this. I mean, I think there's a time and place. But I've got to get to these papers, Bill. We've got the Times first here. Leaving the ECHR not a threat to Ulster peace. Metro, historic rail revolution. The Independent protects journalists in Gaza. Guardian, drug better than aspirin at preventing heart attacks. The Express, police told end shopped theft sprees now. The Mail, Labour civil war fueling Rayner sleaze. And that is your newspaper wrap. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you're watching in the morning, good morning to you. I hope you stay tuned for breakfast. If you're watching this evening, have a lovely night's sleep. See you all soon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, the week ahead is going to remain unsettled for all of us. We'll see further spells of rain and showers, and it generally will be quite breezy. So as we end the weekend, we've still got this area of low pressure close by, still tightly packed isobars, especially across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, indicating some windy conditions here. And all in all, across many western parts of the UK, we'll see further spells of rain and showers, and the rain potentially turning quite heavy later on across parts of Scotland. We do have a warning coming into force during the early hours across southwestern Scotland, so do take some extra care if you have got some early journeys here. Across the south and east, however, generally dry and clear as we end the night, and for all of us it's a fairly mild one as we start Monday morning. So we do start off still with this area of rain across parts of Scotland. Could give a fairly tricky commute in places. There will be some sunshine across western Scotland, but further showers following on here quite quickly. And really for much of Northern Ireland and Northern England, it is going to be a morning of sunshine and showers. Similar story for Wales and the West Country, but over towards the east of England, we will start off relatively dry with some sunshine, but the cloud will bubble up here as the day goes on. And for most of the UK, really, it's going to be a day of sunny spells and scattered showers. Some of these showers will be quite heavy and potentially thundery with a risk of hail in places, but they'll be still moving through fairly quickly on a fairly brisk wind. In the sunnier moments, it won't feel too bad out there for the first day of September. We will see highs reaching around 21 or 22 degrees in a few spots.